Peace everyone, Unmask Art here. Welcome back to the Pastel tutorial. Hope everyone is having a lovely day. Today the plan is to finish up the bridge and the foliage on the bridge. So let's just jump right into this. I'm going to start with 7 to 4. And I'm just going to kind of scribble on the bridge a little bit, make some of the colors patchy and random, and then I'll blend it out and we'll add the bricks, the brick texture. Hey there, Fondue, Claire, Diane, Barbara, good to see you. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. Hopefully the time change didn't mess with you too much. I know my clock changed this weekend, so I know a number of you, the time for the live streams will feel a little bit different. So not a whole lot of rhyme or reason with where I'm scribbling this particular color. Just want to get some variation in the values and the bricks, and that's about it. So I'm going to go a little bit darker for the shadows. So I'm going to use the 760 color. Hello, Alexandra. Start with this under the bridge here. I started my Monday off right, I tell you what. I've done nothing but play video games and eat cherry pie like all day so far. That's how I started my Monday. I got up at 6:30, went to the kitchen, grabbed some cherry pie that I made last night, and then just sat in bed and played video games, and that's all I've done up until today's stream. So it's a good Monday. It's holiday here in Poland, so my wife has today off. Yeah, it's a pretty good Monday so far. I'm trying to not eat the rest of the pie. Save it for at least one more morning, one more breakfast. Yesterday I was in the baking mood, and I made some cookies and I made some cherry pie. Hello, Abdul, Cherry, Musab. Thank you. Hello, Judy. Oh, you just joined? Well, welcome. Glad you're able to join. Good luck on catching up. I work pretty fast, but I'll be finishing this project this week, actually. Tomorrow we'll finish this project, which means I gotta finalize the reference photo for the next project. let's see, where are some other dark areas? Sort of over here. Let's switch up the color. I'm going to use some brown. This is the 610 brown. So I'll use this. Continue to scribble some color onto the bricks here. My main goal for doing this is to create that uneven sort of patchy look in the bricks. And simultaneously, I want to darken the bridge. I need to get these values a little bit darker. So I'm not going to be afraid to lay this color or lay these colors down onto the bricks because once I blend them out, you'll see just how soft the texture is. So the little scribble marks I'm not concerned about. Just trying to get some good color diversity in the bricks and darken the bridge overall. The bridge needs to be a shade darker. Okay, Shauna, I'm glad you're able to pop in. Hope you're having a good work day so far. Not working too hard. Hope. It's nice that you want to spend your lunchtime with us here. And for anybody else, if you have any questions about this project, by all means, you are more than welcome to ask your questions. And I will do everything I can to answer them in the most coherent way possible. Where can you find the reference photo? So the reference photos for all of the art club projects are in the art club on my website. I have links for it in the description. All of these projects that I do, it's actually recently that I decided to make the initial stream public so that all of you can join in, ask your questions. And then once this live stream is over, it goes back into the library of tutorials on my website. And only art club members have access to the library once the live stream is over. So if you want that, I have around 60 projects that were all previously live streamed, and all the reference photos and line art and supplies and everything. So I have a link for that in the description. If you feel so inclined to support my work and give yourself the ability to go back and watch all of those lessons. All right, let's see. Let's get some other color going on here. Let's use a little bit of 620. I'm going to use a little less of this color because that brown sort of serves its purpose. But there's some more orangey areas that I'll just scribble in. Not too much of that. And let's do a little bit of 105. This part right here is a little bit brighter. What paper is best for colored pencils regarding sanded paper? Oh, where did I? Oh, sorry about that, Shauna. Read the first part of your comment, forgot to read the second part. So regarding sanded paper, you have a number of choices really, because colored pencils are a little bit more flexible with paper choice than pastel pencils. Pastel matte is one of the favorites of people that use sanded paper with colored pencils. So, I mean, if you want to keep it real simple, you want to do pastel stuff, pastel mat. You want to do colored pencil stuff on sanded paper, then pastel mat. You can use both of them, or you can use both mediums on the paper and just buy one paper and not have to worry about, you know, going beyond that. But if you want to try some other papers, the Lux Archival paper is the other really good and possibly the best option for colored pencils, as it is specifically designed. It is a sanded surface paper specifically designed by a colored pencil artist for colored pencils. So that might be the one of the most ideal choices. And I really wouldn't go beyond those two, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't even consider any other ones. Those are kind of the only ones you want to consider. Let's see, I'm going to throw some purple in here. This is the 385 purple. Some of these shadows in here, I just want to throw in a little bit of purple. Let's grab some black. I'm going to use the black to get these shadows nice and dark. Hey there, Cece. Fortunately, you shouldn't have any problem fixing your stairs, Cherry. Yeah, getting them at an angle to get those angles right. They're kind of a minor thing, so even if you don't get like the angle perfect, you'll be good. I'm going to try to make my stairs stand out just a little bit by putting some black right behind them. All right, any other colors? I think last thing I'll do is I'll just use the 724 once again as a quick light layer to sort of blend some of these colors out. And then I'll use the actual paper blender to do the final blending. But this will sort of harmonize all those colors quickly with a little extra pigment to buffer. More pigment you have on the paper, the easier it blends. So that's why I do this. And I quite literally scribbled everything there. So keeping it super basic. Alrighty, let's just jump over here. So this is just my paper blender, and I'm just gonna smooth all this out, get these colors blended together nicely. And I'm not even gonna try to stop it from having a little bit of texture in there. After all, this is bricks, so getting some grain into the surface is not going to make it look bad. In fact, it might even make it look a little bit better. Don't be afraid to drag some of the color over top of where you're going to be putting the vines. That will just help prevent some of the haloing. Alrighty. Now it is time to add the bricks. I'm going to start with the 700. And let's just start over here on the little dock. So I'll just start putting in some of these horizontal lines. There we go. There's the dock. Easy as that. Now for these horizontal lines, just follow that top edge. Or at least start by following the top edge. And then also I want to make sure I get that archway. So I'll just quickly get the archway put in. And go back to my horizontal lines. No need to use a ruler here. These bricks are inherently uneven with the design. It's supposed to represent sort of that hand-laid imperfection. So just put all the horizontal lines in first. Alrighty. Now I'm just going to space out the bricks on the top line. Just sort of guessing the size. And now for the line below it, you just go in between the lines you just created. And then in between those lines for the next layer. I'm just putting in the arches really quick. And then I'll get back to wall. All right, so that part is done. Now we just need to do some fine tuning of our bricks, make them look a little bit better. We're going to use the 760 to come through and do a little bit of refining of the shadows of our bricks. So this is a little bit tedious part of it. So coming in here and adding some shadow edges. This will help the bricks look a little bit more natural. Any questions? Hopefully I didn't do that too quickly. I know I breezed through it, but the brick strategy didn't change from the way that we did the house. Same sort of procedure. These bricks are just a little bit darker overall than the house. They're getting hit by a little less light, and I like to imagine they're made out of slightly different mixtures. Yeah, very, very chatty today indeed. Yeah, I guess it really is a Monday for everyone else. Gotta start your day off with half of a cherry pie like I did, and you'll be a bit more talkative, I guess. Once I get the this dark shadow part of the bricks done, then I'll grab the white pencil and we'll do a little bit of the highlighted areas. Baked some homemade peach and blueberry pie. Oh, that sounds good. I made my cherry pie last night and I have one piece left. My wife doesn't like my pies because I don't put sugar in it. All of my cookies and pies and stuff are sugar free. And my wife, if it doesn't have like half a kilo at least of sugar in it, she doesn't want anything to do with it. Oh, you're very welcome, horror fan. Alrighty, let's move on to the foliage now. So I'll start with just a nice layer of the 590. The same way we did the foliage for the house. So I'm just gonna block it in, real simple. And then from this layer, I'll add the highlights. And then once I get all that done, the shadows and stuff, put in the flower color. For the top part, don't be afraid to color over top of your bricks, over top of your stairs. Now you want to add that layer, that layering, make your bricks and stuff feel like they're on a different plane. What part is this? This is part 13. So we're well past the 20-hour mark for sure, because I know for a number of sessions now I've done 2 hours on this project. Um, so we're probably somewhere around the 24-hour mark for this project to get it to where I have it here. For anybody following along, um, I would say that anything less than 30 hours, you're probably working too quickly. I would I would be lying if I said that I took my time on this project. I did sort of run through some aspects of it a little bit quicker than I would have if I was just doing it to do it. I would have probably liked to spend, I don't know, maybe another 3 hours or so on just the house. But I think it will still end up looking quite nice in spite of my bit of haste. Once we get the paper covered, I mean, really, once we get the paper covered, the project's going to basically be done, but everything will have a bit better context, especially the bridge here. Once I get the foliage put in, it will just overall look better without having these weird blank spots. Oh, thank you, horror fan. Yeah, Thomas Kincaid's works are very lovely to look at. Very, very peaceful. Very peaceful scenes. I may have to do one more in the future. They have a really great atmosphere. Or, you know what? What I should do in the future is instead of um, copying one of his originals, is to design my own in his style. Sort of come up with my own peaceful scene using sort of his elements that he likes, like the stone bridges and stone everything. He sort of likes everything to be very natural. All the buildings being made of stone and stuff, and sort of has that element of almost fantasy. It's like it's like fantasy and rustic at the same time a little bit. I think that's how I would describe it anyway. How would you guys describe Thomas Kincaid's work? I feel like my description pretty close, or what are some other adjectives you would use to describe it? How long do I think Kincaid took? He was working with oil paint, and a lot of his like foliage and everything like that would have gone by a lot faster, simply due to the nature of that medium. And so his sky, his trees and everything, he'd probably do that in about a half hour. The painting of the house and the bricks would take a little bit of time, maybe a couple hours. So I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if this painting took him over 10 hours, really, because you also have to take into account that he painted the same way for years, like like 20 plus years, painted the same exact way, almost never changed, almost never added like new elements, sort of just painted the same sort of stylistic landscapes for years. And you do that, you get really proficient. So I imagine this painting probably took him about 8 to 10 hours, I'd say, if I had to make my best guess. I'd say 8 to 10 hours. I'd be quite surprised to find out if it was over 10 hours. This painting took him 3 months to paint, but mm, that's probably dealing with the drying time of the oil and not necessarily that he worked on it every day for 3 months. I would be very surprised to find out like the hours spent and not like the time frame spent, because I mean I've been working on this project for what, almost a month, but that makes it sound like I've been working on it for a really long time, when I in actuality, 20 to 25 hours on a project is nothing. I mean, I have drawings that are a tenth of this size that I've spent over 50 hours on. So yeah. Okie dokie. Let's do some bright green. This is the 570. So let's get some of these highlights scribbled in for these bushes. Now for the shadows, I'll use the 760. Get some of these dark tones into the bushes and foliage. Oh, hey there, Rick. Good to see you. Oh, and Mima. Always a pleasure. Hello, hello. Good to see you as well. Hope you had a good weekend. Yes, this is pastel pencil. The entire project is pastel pencil. I didn't use any soft pastels for this project. It's sort of a change that I'm kind of making to all of my pastel tutorials is to simplify doing the projects. I'm just going to do everything in pastel pencil from now on, as opposed to utilizing both soft pastel and pastel pencil. I think I have plenty of projects that use the soft pastels, and there's really just no new techniques that I wish to explore with that medium at this time. I've sort of went through everything that you can really do with that medium, and I sort of always end up using the pastel pencils in combination in order to get some fun details and everything. If you're more into the painterly look, I think the soft pastels are definitely the option, the route to go. But if you want to get some really nice details, then pastel pencils is sort of what you want to gravitate towards anyway. Alrighty, let's see here. I want to throw in a little bit of gray. This is the 110 gray. This grass down here is a little less green, so I'm going to come over top of it with a little bit of gray and a little bit of the light brown, the 620 color. Scribble a little bit of this in there as well, just color diversity. And I'll throw some of this into the bushes as well. Just get a little bit of like orange brown kind of coming through. A little bit of a transition color between the dark gray and the bright gray. I mean green, dark green and bright green. Oh yes, I had a great weekend, Mima. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Bunk Butter. That's an interesting name. No, Alani, good to see you as well. If I happen to miss anybody in chat, I do apologize, but I welcome all of you. I'm glad you're here. And if you have any questions, I am more than happy to take on your questions. So ask away. In the meantime, I'm going to quickly sharpen this pencil So give me 1 second. All right, I'm gonna come back through with the 590 just to get a little bit better coverage in some spots. That way when I blend it out, I'm not fighting the paper. Just a few bits of the white still coming through. Try to get that covered a little bit better. Okie dokie. Now it's time to blend, so just going to use the paper blender. Mush all these colors together. When you blend, you're going to take these lighter colors and they're going to lighten up all the dark. So you'll have to come back through with the black pencil to bring back some of the depth in the foliage, get those dark colors once again dark. You want to have nice contrast there to make your foliage look like it has a volume. This is long grass, so you want to blend that vertically. How long did it take me to get where I'm at? And what did I do to prep this piece? Oh, those are fantastic questions. Yeah, really. You know what? I don't think I've ever gotten that question before. How long did it take me to get to where I'm at? That's a fantastic question. And while I'm answering that question, I am going to use the 695 to add some highlights to my foliage here. So I've considered myself an artist since I actively started practicing art, which was when I was 6 years old. So I've been doing it for 26 years. But it didn't take me 26 years to get to where I'm at, to be able to do what I'm doing. I would say if you dedicate the proper time, it can take you 4 years. If you make art your primary hobby, your primary activity outside of everything else in life, and you study, because you do have to study, you have to know the techniques, then I think you can get to where I'm at in 4 years. If you set yourself on an efficient path, and sometimes that efficient path will involve different things depending on your learning style, depending on what it is you want to do with your art. But if you focus yourself right, then you can do it in 4 years, which, 4 years sounds a long time, but you want to be as persistent as my work and everything. There's just no shortcuts to it, because you have to know the techniques, and then you have to understand the purpose of what you're doing. the purpose of the colors you choose, the purpose of the planning that you do. Planning is a huge part. It plays a huge role in how well your work turns out as well. Um, and then, so your second question, hopefully that gives you some insight. I'm trying to. It's a difficult question to ask. It really is. I'm using black now. I want to go through and darken the shadows in the foliage here. So your second question, what did I do to prepare for this project here? It's another really great question. So the planning process is involved in everything that I do. It's something that I started 9 years ago, 10 years ago. No, 9 years ago. Yeah, almost 10 years ago. And over the years, my process and my planning stages have evolved and adopted with my style and what I want to achieve in my work. But for this project here, the first the first step was, of course, to get the reference, which was pretty easy because I'm making a copy of a painting that already exists. And once I got the reference, I scaled it to the size that I'm going to be working on, because there's actually a bit on the left side over here. This sort of purple pink tree that you see, there was much more of it in the original painting, but I cropped it to simplify it for educational reasons. I didn't want the project to take even longer just because I was replicating the entire painting. Um, so that was one thing I took into account when I was planning this project, because I'm doing this to teach. I'm not doing it to do it for myself. I know that I can paint it. I know that I can replicate it. I want to show people how to do it, and I want to talk you through the process, and that's what I've been doing for the past month. The next thing that I do in the planning process is I stare at the reference. I just look at it. I'll look at it. Sometimes I'll look at it for 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll look at it for an hour. Just depends on the complexity and if there's anything in it that I feel like will be difficult. And what I do when I'm analyzing the reference photos or the picture is I'm looking at the range of colors that are happening. I collect those on a digital color palette. So I use Photoshop for that. And I go ahead and I color pick a bunch of colors because I want to familiarize myself with the variety of colors that exist, because that helps me establish sort of that helps me establish the colors that I'm going to use in the project. And if you do that well enough, you can pretty much select all the colors that you're going to use for the entire project and just have them ready while you're working. And that's efficiency. That will save time. And I do that for every project, whether I'm doing it for educational reasons or if I'm doing it for my own like personal projects. I always do that. I always take the time to analyze my reference photos, and I stress the importance of doing that. I think it's something that is overlooked far too often, and so I stress the planning stage of my work. And it helps. It helps a lot, because I'm using my paper blender now. I'm just going to smooth out some of the texture. When you practice the planning part of the artwork, you develop artist eyes, which a lot of people struggle to develop. You want to be able to identify shadows and highlights, the colors that exist in them, the subtle colors. Like I threw in some purple underneath the bridge. I I guarantee you a majority of people that were, if they were to attempt this project solo, without instruction and just sort of test themselves and try to do it, they miss those colors. And when you miss those subtle colors and shadows and highlights and throughout the projects, whether it's a portrait or a landscape or anything, when you miss the subtle colors, what you miss is what makes the image look the way that it does. Everything that makes a portrait good, everything that makes a still life good or a landscape good, it's subtle. It's not it's not the bright red in the flowers. It's not the blue in the sky. It's the subtle touches of pink and yellow, purple, and the touches of yellow beneath the red. It's all of the subtle colors that make those things look really good. And if you don't have the eyes to identify those subtleties, then you won't be able to replicate it. Because if there's a hint of purple in the shadow and you don't add any purple at all, then you've missed it. And so part of that initial planning before you ever touch pencil to paper or paint to canvas, uh, you want to identify those things. You have to become very familiar with the subject matter that you're trying to create, and you don't see those things in an instant. It takes time to develop that vision to the point that you start to see them much quicker. I can look at pictures and I can pick out very subtle colors to help enhance them when you create them as artwork. So yeah, excellent questions. And if anybody has any other questions, try to top those ones. Yeah, those questions keep me talking for a while. Alrighty, let's see. I'm gonna use the white. Actually, you know what? Forget the white. I'm gonna use the 681 and do some of these bright flowers here. See how this shows up. I wanted to avoid the white, but it's a subtle change. I just want to do these bright flowers in something other than white. Also, hey there, John. Glad you're able to make it. Have I used UArt paper? Yes, I have used UArt paper, but pastel matte, when it comes to pastel pencils, there is no alternative that I would ever recommend when it for pastel pencils exclusively. For soft pastels, there's a lot more flexibility there. But for pastel pencils, cannot stress how much better pastel matte is than literally every paper I've ever tried. And I've tried a lot. I've tried all the ones worthy of being tried. Let's put it that way, because I'm not gonna try like Bristol paper or something. I'm not gonna try vellum. Like that doesn't make any sense. But all the papers worthy of being tried with pastel pencils I have tried, and pastel matte outshines them all to such a significant degree that I would never ever recommend any other paper. Alrighty, let's go with a little brighter. So I'm gonna add some white, make some of these flowers and the highlights really shine. And the way that I'm doing this is I'm putting the tip of the pencil and I'm rolling it or I'm spinning it on the paper that lets it dig into the paper and really create a nice sparkle. Gonna do a few of those. Just got your first set of pastel pencils. Awesome. That is awesome. Oh, that's lovely to hear, Sharon. I appreciate that. Yes, I did a video. I did a video on paper, but it was a review of the Lux archival paper, and it works really good. Um, but I sort of still exclusively think pastel matte is better for pastel pencils, which I may not have adequately described in that review video. Now I'm using the yellow, the 695. Get some of these yellow flowers in here. When doing your flowers, make sure that you bundle them. You get a little clump and then spread them out. You want to avoid evenly spreading them out. You want the random look. So sometimes you'll just be putting them right next to each other, creating a little clump. All right, let's go ahead and grab the 335. I'm going to do this section after. I'm going to use some white on top of that 335 to brighten it near the top. And then we have the blue flowers in here. So I'm going to use the 435. No new colors, by the way, today. Getting the blue flowers is tough. Because these, it's hard to see it as blue, like you do in the painting. Sort of the vibrancy is pulled out from the green in the previous layers beneath it. But it would also be tough if you were just to apply blue to the area. It just doesn't show up as vibrantly as oil paint. But you can still get them to look relatively blue. Bunch of these little flowers here. Oh, thank you, Warren. Well, I hope the notifications start working for you. My channel was sort of gray listed Um, and it doesn't show up in recommendations as much as it used to anymore. YouTube has removed permanently removed some of my videos for absolutely no reason at all. Um, and then when I was live streaming, every day, like a year and a half ago, it just my channel just shut off, and so that's probably part of the reason that you're not getting the notifications, or some people aren't getting the notifications. It'll be quite the miracle if I ever get this channel uh, to 1 million subscribers, because it's very hard to get my videos out there now. YouTube doesn't seem to recommend them anymore like it used to. I'm going to use the 365 now to start getting the purple color of the flowers in here. So with that said, if you want to help my channel, sharing it on social media and all of that stuff, and giving the live streams a thumbs up is very helpful. Leaving comments on the videos, as much interaction as possible, is really beneficial, and I greatly appreciate it. I love getting your guys' questions and giving you the best answers that I can to help you in any way that I can. Do I have a video on best way to sharpen pastel pencils? The best way to sharpen pastel pencils is with an electric sharpener. A good quality electric sharpener. You don't push them in really hard, you just push them in with, nice, just enough pressure to the point that you feel it being pushed in. You just don't want to run it through there, but I mean, I've been using the same electric sharpener for a few years now. I haven't changed the blade in a year, and as you can imagine, I am sharpening my pastel pencils a ridiculous amount. So it's working pretty good for me so far. Alrighty, I'm going to use the 681. Now the flowers over here are more pink, but I'm going to use this to lighten it, and then I'll add the 335 on top. Oh, thank you, amazing. Amazing C. All right, so I'm going to use the 335 right over top of that light pink that I used. I'm going to go back over it with the 681. It's not really showing up as much as I'd like. Let's add a little bit more pink. So back to the 335. To get it just a bit brighter without making it look red. That's the challenge. Okie dokie. Now for this part of the grass. There's purple, there's red, there's blue. I'm going to start with the 365 purple. And the 435 blue. I'm just doing sort of elongated triangles. And I need to soften that purple. So I think I'm going to use the 681 to do that, while adding some texture to it. So little dots. And I'm going to use some 385 purple. This is 681 again. And now I'm going to use some of the 695 yellow to just do last little bits of highlights. I'm going to do the highlights like they're little leaves. A little bit like a dashed line. The little leaf highlights. Just another layer of texture is really what it amounts to. What types of advertising or things have I experienced that do help? For my channel, nothing has helped really. Um, it's just been a long grind to get to where I'm at. I've tried different things, but at the end of the day, none of them ever seem to do a single thing. I just happened to get lucky a few years ago. That's it. I think the key is to just get lucky or to have a little bit more of a personality. Two things that I've never had much of. I don't do anything. I don't market myself. I don't promote myself. I don't like to use social media. So I don't do anything except produce content and show my appreciation to everyone that gives me their attention. Speaking of nothing that has anything to do with this project, I'm actually done for today. So I'll be back tomorrow and we are going to finish this project. So the last thing that we have to do is the boat and the water, and all of that will be finished up tomorrow. So thank you all so much for coming by and hanging out. I really appreciate it. I hope that you had fun. I hope you learned something. Let me go ahead and zoom out so you guys can see the full project. So there's the full project as it is now. So again, thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care. Peace.